Good morning. We've got a bunch of things that have appeared around the church today to help us get ready for a big season that you all know is coming up. What do we have over there? Yes. The candles. And how many candles did we light today? One. And that's because we are on the first Sunday of the season of what? Yes. Advent. Very good. That's why some people, like Deacon Joan and I, are wearing blue because we're anticipating Advent. That's why the flower at the altar has these greens here. They look kind of plain, don't they, these greens? But as Advent gets closer and closer to Christmas, they're going to put things inside the greens. Because Advent's about getting ready. It's kind of about anticipating something. Have you used the word anticipate a lot before? Just maybe a little bit. And there's another wonderful word that begins with A, like anticipate. I like a lot. It's called appetizers. And appetizers help us anticipate what? A meal. Perfect. Yes. And you know what one of my favorite appetizers is? One of my favorite appetizers, I hate to tell you this, don't tell your parents too much about this later. Cheetos. I love Cheetos. Anyone who would like to take a Cheeto, go ahead and why don't you grab those, pass those Cheetos around you, and have an appetizer because we're anticipating something absolutely wonderful. We're anticipating a great big season that's going to come forward, and a very special person who's born on that day. And you all know what that day is, and you all know who that person is, don't you? Yes. So we're getting ready. Advent is like the great appetizer. But you know, the first Sunday of Advent today, the very first Sunday, is a look, all these left for me. The great second message about the first Sunday of Advent is that in addition to getting ready for Jesus to come at Christmas, we also are getting ready for Jesus to come at the end of the world, or at the end of our time in this world. And it's going to be on his first arrival, we'll remember, on the 21st, and we don't know when his second coming is. We don't know when that is, but we know that the second coming of Jesus is something we need to think about, and it's going to be wonderful too for all of the people who have great faith in God and who love God in their hearts. The second coming of Jesus is going to be absolutely marvelous. It's going to be a great time of peace and love and hope and joy, and it'll be a splendid time. It's going to be like, what's the best part of a meal? Yes. The dessert. It's like the dessert. The dessert. It's just wonderful. And you know, I have a favorite dessert I'd like to share with you here. I love chocolate-filled cookies. So if you would like a cookie, here's the dessert. Here's the dessert. And you know, would you like to pass those around a little bit for me? Take one for yourself, of course, and then help pass those around. Because we're anticipating that dessert. Now, we had a wonderful appetizer, right? Yep, and we are having dessert, right? What happens in between the appetizer and the dessert? The meal! Yes! The meal. And you know, that meal is like life. All that happens in between the appetizer and the dessert is life. It's our life. And today we take a minute and we think about how do we want to live our life? How do we want to put something between the great appetizer of anticipating Jesus and knowing Jesus is coming and Jesus is coming back? How do we live our life? Well, we should live it perhaps like Jesus lives his life. Perhaps we should listen closely in this year to come After Jesus is born, and Jesus starts to grow up, Jesus is a little baby, and then he becomes a little boy, and then he grows up, and he lives his life and shows us how we should follow him and live our lives too, like Jesus does. And so Advent gets us ready for that, for this great main course of life in which we're going to live it even more closely to Jesus. Now, one of the great stories about life and about having an adventure is something that some of you may go see in the movie theater coming up a little bit. It's the last thing I have to take out of my little thing today, but it's a book. Oh, I know it's nothing to eat, but it's a book called The Hobbit. Yes. And it's by J.R.R. Tolkien, who's a wonderful British author who wrote about the same time as another author I like a lot. So you can imagine I like J.R.R. Tolkien a lot too. But The Hobbit is coming to the big screen again, and if you've read it, I know some of you have. I've read it. It's all about a great adventure in the world, big adventure of life. And it remembers that in life there are good things and there are bad things. There's light and there's also dark places where times are really hard. But yes, exactly. And the story of The Hobbit is all about following the light that leads us through those dark places. And when you and I have the light of Jesus Christ to lead us, wow, we can't go wrong as long as we're following that light. For in that light we find everything we could possibly need to go along the whole main course of life. And you know, as you read The Hobbit, or you go see it on the screen, or even The Lord of the Rings that comes afterwards, yes, afterwards, there's a wonderful, wonderful line where the Hobbit says, "What do we do in life?" And Gandalf, the wizard, says, "Well, this life isn't all there is. So we must remember to look ahead to the light that's before us and decide what we're going to do with the gift of every minute that we have been given." And so that's Advent, making the best of every minute we've been given, following the light, and getting ready for the great adventure of all. That's Jesus Christ showing us how to be even better pilgrims on this journey. So that's your commission this Advent. I hope that you all enjoyed your appetizer and your dessert. And I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful, wonderful Advent. And that Christmas comes almost as soon as you want it to, but not quite as soon as your parents and I do, because we have a lot left to do. Amen.